You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and today the band is back together. Claire is back from study abroad, and it's time to get our friendship book club back on. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
There
Hello.
she is. She's back. So you were at study abroad in Scotland, so tell us everything.
Scotland's amazing. I love it. I miss it every day. It's so beautiful over there, and the people are great, so it's fun. Lots of new friends.
That sounds like we're gonna have a Scotland episode in the future.
Friends abroad.
Friends abroad. Yeah, no, I think that would be a great topic for a podcast, actually, study abroad friendships. So we'll have to get on that. Yes. Actually, my mom's family is part of our background is Scotland, or we're Scottish.
Yeah,
I've never been.
I met my family over there.
Oh, that's
I
so
have
cool.
Family. Yeah.
Wait,
that was cool.
Was it like European Vacation where they go to visit their German family and then they end up in the wrong house the entire time?
I was scared about that the whole time I was there. I was like, I've never met this woman. My dad's talked to her on the phone before, but like none of us have met them, and I don't know what she looks like. They picked me up from school and like drove me to a farm, and I was like, I hope this is right. I don't know.
I'm about to get murdered.
But murdered in Scotland versus murdered at home, like
you could be an episode on friend of the podcast, Nothing Rhymes with Murder, because they go around the world. So maybe you'd be their Scotland story.
They're from the UK, right? Yeah.
Yes, they are. They're located in London. Shout out to Georgie and Kate. Whoop, whoop. Hey, girl, hey. So welcome back, and thanks for coming back to the podcast. I think the people missed you. I know Ferguson missed you. And, well, he's sleeping right now, but that's his way of showing you that he loves you. Yes, exactly. And of course, I've missed you for, being in the classroom. I've had you in lots of classes. You were on my research team last year. Before
it was strange to be gone a little bit.
Yeah, well, we were able to talk a little bit. We tried to record this when you were over there, and you helped me set up
the Gareth Reynolds episode.
Yeah, when I set up for Skype to interview Gareth Reynolds in episode 25, the devil
You're like, I need to make sure it works far away. And I was like, I'm sure if it works to Scotland, it'll work to California.
And it did. So thank you for that. And then everyone go check out the episode because it was great. But I also feel like when you're around, I read more. I don't know why that's an encouraging factor. Maybe because our episodes on the podcast focus on books, but so this summer, at the start of the summer, I was like, I'm going to read 16 books this summer, 1 book a week.
That's ambitious. I like it.
Yeah, well, until this episode, I was at 5 books.
That's pretty good. That's better than I've been doing. So
really? Yeah. You haven't been reading?
I've been working a lot. I work at I'm interning at a human resources firm. So
well, that's cool.
I've been busy with that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I work from home, but I was like, maybe I'll get up and read in the morning, or I'll read before I go to bed. So I'll totally be able to get a book a week done. But no, I'm at book 5. And the last book I read was Who Killed These Girls by Beverly Lowry, which details the murders of 4 young women in the yogurt shop in Austin, Texas in the 1990s. So it feels weird to be talking about the book that we'll be talking about today. But at the same time, it's like, thank you for giving me a break from true crime so that I could read a book from my past. So it's been a while. So I thought we could remind the listeners how the book club series is set up. We analyze books about friendship, but one episode will focus on a book from my yesteryears. Now that I'm 40, I have to sound like I'm really old. My yesteryear, back in the day. And then the next episode focuses on a book from Claire's young adulthood. So first we covered my Saucy and Sassy Sweet Valley High book from that was called Secrets, created by Francine Pascal, the queen of Sweet Valley. Am I right? And then we read Your Girl Power, Spy Alicia's book entitled I Tell You I Love You, But Then I Have to Kill You by Ellie Carter. Which means welcome back to Best Forevers with one of my childhood favorites. So last book was yours. This book is mine. Doesn't that excite you? Are you excited about reading?
I am excited.
Well, and I feel like to do a comparison to the book we did of mine before that this book is sort of like the Elizabeth Wakefield version of young adult books, and the Saucy and Sassy Secrets is more of like the Jessica Wakefield version of young adult books. This one is way more wholesome, although there's some super clean scandal that happens too. So get ready. Yeah. Okay. I kind of miss Sweet Valley.
Oh, no. Bring on the drama.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's so sad. But today we'll be talking about Anne M. Martin's amazing series, The Babysitter's Club, and I selected book number 1, Kristy's Great Idea, which was basically Alysa's great idea. Am I right?
Yes. Great pick.
Thank you. This book came out in 1987, and much like Sweet Valley High was a quick read. And because I keep kind of harping on Claire that her books are longer. Mine you can read in like an hour. So so this one was back to a quick read. Got me up to book number 6 on the summer series. Maybe I should just read the rest of the series, and I'll be like, by the time school starts, I read 100 books this summer.
I won't tell you which ones, but I read 100. I'll give you the highlights. Here's the 4 I read in the beginning.
These really complicated true crime books, and then here are all the Babysitter's Club books I read. But usually the way we set it up is whoever chooses the book, the other person has to tell us about the book. And so, Claire, you want to read the back of the cover so the listeners have an idea of what this book is about?
Sure. All right. Need a babysitter?
Yes.
Save time. Call the Babysitter's Club. Kristy thinks the Babysitter's Club is a great idea. She and her friends, Claudia, Stacy, and Mary Ann, all love to take care of kids. A club will give them the chance to have lots of fun and make tons of money.
Of course.
It's all about the money.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Why do you think I babysit?
Oh.
But nobody counted on crank calls, uncontrollable 2-year-olds, wild pets, and parents who don't always tell the truth. That's an important stipulation there. And then there's Stacy, who's acting more and more mysterious. Having a babysitter's club isn't easy, but Kristy and her friends aren't giving up until they get it right. The tagline, the best friends you'll ever have.
Yes, and then on the front it says, 4 friends and babysitting, what could be more fun? And the 4 friends I'm on board with, but babysitting, what could be more fun? I could probably think of 1,000 things.
I was a big babysitter, so.
You did? So you liked babysitting?
I did, yeah. I had this, like, the regulars, like my regular families, and you had, like, that one random family that would call you every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't want to. I don't know your kids that well, but.
I didn't do much babysitting, and I think it's because I'm the... And this isn't the only reason, but I am the youngest, so I don't have a lot of kids. There aren't any siblings younger than me. And there's something about babies and you're being in charge of a life, and it made me super anxious. And so I was always 100% uncomfortable the entire time I was there with the kids.
Oh, no.
And I did a little bit of babysitting. There was one time I had babysat a baby, and I was like, I just don't know what to do, and this is this is bad.
Was it a baby or like a child?
Like, it was like under 1, I want to say.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm like, and I just held this summer 2 different babies, and I was like, oh my God, which way is up? I'm still like, oh, what do you do with them? Then I had some older kids that were actually kind of funny, but it's still that everything feels like a negotiation. I feel like I'm a hostage negotiator.
Because it is.
And I'm just like, this is so much work. And then I babysat for a family that everything was just a little strange. Like, the kids weren't allowed to watch TV, which I can understand why parents would want to be on top of what their kids are watching, but to never see anything that they can't connect with peers, I felt like, I was like, that must be hard making friends or something. But to me, so babysitting, maybe that's why I liked these books, is because I read about it here so that I didn't have to do
You
it.
got to experience it in a nice, cushy environment where there's no real world ramifications for anything that goes wrong.
Exactly. And
Someone
I'm like,
else's problem.
when in the book we'll talk about, I mean, in the description you just gave, it talked about wild pets. I'm like, I can do that way more than I could do the kids. And it's just because I've been around more pets, but I did dog sit one time for a dog named Nitro, and boy, did that name suit him. And I was stressed 100% the entire time I was with him too. So there are things, I guess it's kind of like why I don't like riding horses. I don't feel like I'm in control.
That's me too. Oh my gosh.
But you're supposed to be like, you let them know that you're in control. And
it's so big. I'm like, you're bigger than I am. Like, why am I in charge? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So, this book series to me is good. Anne M. Martin is still pretty involved. I see her online and that sort of thing. And so I think that the series is certainly something that reminds me of my childhood. It was not the scandal of Sweet Valley High, and it was not the mystery of my Nancy Drews I love so much, and we'll definitely cover a Nancy Drew in the future. I just can't decide which one.
I know.
Oh yeah, there's so many. So maybe because they're quick reads, Claire, maybe we could do like a 3-part series, like 3 reads, and I don't know, something. We'll figure it out. But this definitely seems like the type of series that my parents would have wanted me to read. These are the young adult books that they would want on my bookshelf and my eyeballs on. So it's like I needed this cover of the Babysitter's Club around my Sweet Valley High book so I could enjoy my scandal. But
that's why I read my like new adult fiction on my Kindle and on my phone so no one can see the covers.
Excuse me, we didn't have Kindles then. We're doing our best, okay? Because this did come out in 1980s, and I still needed to get my hot goss from Sweet Valley High, and so definitely needed. They should just make covers so you can put it around the other ones. But then
I'm sure they do.
But then this is like good, wholesome fun, and so maybe sometimes you might get made fun of, so you need like the Sweet Valley High cover around it so that people think you're like reading the scandalous stuff. Yeah. So what did you think overall about the Babysitter's Club? What's your first read on it?
My parents definitely would have loved me reading this, for sure. But like your parents would have. But it reminded me of like other series I read too. Like that kind of like there's 8 million of them and they're all like wholesome girlfriends doing girlfriend stuff. And I'm like, this is great. It's a fun read. It was good.
Yeah.
It reminded me of my youth too, because I babysat a lot. So that was
I was like, I love the friendship and I like this club idea where people are part of a club, but I don't know how I feel about babysitting. And obviously the 80s, like, I think the author, Anne M. Martin, does a good job representing these different types of young ladies. You know, you have artists, you have an introvert, you have an extrovert, you have this mysterious, cool New Yorker, as we'll learn. And just, like, the diversity of them. And I feel like there was a lot of things where it's like, you know, Kristy liked to play sports and that was okay, but there was a lot of the kids that they were babysitting saying all this gender stuff like, oh, I don't like girls and girls can't play with that, and I was like, really, bro? Is that what we're doing? Which I realize is the 80s, but like a reread on this book that kind of made me irritated, and I didn't bring it up in my notes, and so I wanted to make note of it now, is that when you're reading it, obviously besides the fact that they talk about things that don't exist anymore, like Toys R Us. The Toys R Us store is now...
Is Toys R Us by me still open?
Is it? I thought it was officially closed.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't been home a whole lot, so maybe that's...
It closed a couple weeks ago. Yeah, maybe when you were in Alaska.
Oh, I'm thinking of Sears. Sears is still kind of open.
Sears and Toys R Us are not the same thing. Sears didn't have, when you walk in, just glowing pink, and you're like, there's the Barbie aisle, and you would just hightail it over there and check out all the Barbies and stuff. Oh, Toys R Us was the best. That was my childhood. So they talk about Toys R Us, and that doesn't exist anymore. But I won't mention a lot of those things here. So, but as we do, because we usually get used copies, was there anything cool with your book?
No, unfortunately, it's like pristine. I was like, someone just either didn't read this or like it's a complete like took care of this book like it was their child. Like,
Let me see it. Let me see your cover. Okay, yeah, we have the same one. Okay, I was like, did you get a re-release?
No.
Mine is used. And
So is mine, yeah.
But are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Just like we had Sarah Miller in the Sweet Valley High, I have Susan A. Bruincool, who from East Lansing, Michigan, who's about to get some Best Forever's mail. And Susan! Right? And so I'm excited. She actually has like a little, she didn't write her name in there. She had like an address label made.
Oh, a return label.
Like, how do you, is that the mom? Like, who has.
Or was she like a teacher and like had it?
Oh.
Maybe, I don't know.
That's a really good idea. Well, in that case, maybe she still lives in that house.
Oh.
She's probably retired.
Probably.
I hope she's alive. Sorry. All right, Susan. I'm going to send you. Yeah, so I'm also like, Susan sounds like a little bit of an older name, even for the 80s. So maybe it's because I was like, who's got address labels for all their books? I mean, unless it's like a serious book nerd, like a bookworm person. Yeah. All right. Well, she's getting mail. And then I also enjoy in the back of my book, which I'm assuming in the back of your book as well, there is Kristy's scrapbook with photos. So the character.
Wait.
And
oh, yeah. I do have that.
There's some notebook pages right before that where it's like, this Babysitter's Club book belongs to blank. I am blank years old and the blank grade. The name of my school is blank. Should I fill this out now? The Babysitter's Club book belongs to Alysa. I am 40 years old and I am in the
forever grade because you're teaching.
Yeah, forever. 15 plus like 33rd grade. I don't know if that's accurate. The name of my school is Central Michigan University. I got this book, Babysitter's Club book from Schuler's bookstore in East Lansing.
I love Schuler's.
Yeah. I started reading it on, put in date, finished reading it on an hour later.
You have to timestamp it.
Yeah, the place where I read this, most of this book is my couch. My favorite part was when, like, this is great. It's like Mad Libs for books. Oh, Kristy had a great idea to start the Babysitter's Club. If I were going to start a club, it would be called blank. Best Forever's Book Club. Okay, well, we can fill that out later. Or if you fill it out, send me pictures. I'll post it for promos. Yeah. But yeah, so I thought the book was kind of fun. And, the all-new Babysitter's Club fan club. Sign up now to meet the best friends you'll ever have. Cool new stuff. You can get a hot pink digital watch, a cool Babysitter's Club mood ring, a Babysitter's Club name and address book. Hear Anne and Martin on tape.
Oh, wow.
Plus, you get one-of-a-kind map of Stony Brook, a photo strip of Anne Martin, and an official Babysitter's Club newsletter sent to you regularly. Everything packed in a special letter box, perfect for storing secret stuff.
Amazing.
And it costs, you can join for a year for only $8.95 plus $2 postage and handling.
Oh, wow.
Should I send it in to see if we get anything?
Return to sender.
I'm going to try it. Okay, but people probably want to know what this book is about, so let's get started. We together are going to share the plot of the book, and then we'll end with some commentary. So I'll begin since I chose the book. Okay. Kristy's great idea. Well, we first meet Kristy, a 7th grader who I think is a little full of herself.
Only a little. I'm like every 7th grader, you know?
I was like, Kristy, bring it down a notch. But it begins on page 1, like so, quote, the Babysitter's Club. I'm proud to say it was my idea, even though the 4 of us worked on it together.
Girl, chill.
So I don't know if she's sort of like a teamwork makes the dream work, or if she's sort of like, I did everything, and then here is my backup dancers. But
I am Brittany. These are my dancers.
Exactly. Like, seriously. But maybe we'll see why that might be possible. She has a particular, I don't know if we call it a personality flaw. I mean, we all got stuff, right? But there are some things she needs to learn, as we'll learn about here just in a hot sec. So basically, Kristy is an extrovert, maybe described as a loudmouth, who gets in some trouble with said mouth. On a hot day in school, she gets super stoked to get out of class. The bell rings. She's basically like, hooray! And then is like, later days, teach, as she flies out of the room. And her teacher, Mr. Redmond, tells her she lacks decorum and she can write an essay about it for tomorrow. So I was kind of like, oh, snap, this teacher don't play. And does anyone know what decorum means?
I did not.
Did you have to look it up?
I knew the word. Like, I heard the word before, but I was like, is that being used correctly? Like, I'm not sure that's what I think it means.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, she doesn't know, but she's not concerned about it because after I love it. She's like, so I slowly walk out of the room after I talk to him because I think that means decorum. I'm just going to slow walk it out of here. We call this walk the decorum. So after she leaves class, she finds her very best friend, Mary Ann, who lives next door. And can I just pause here for a second? Because wasn't that every middle schooler's dream, that you would live next door to your very best friend?
Yeah, like my best friend in middle school lived like 3 blocks from my house. And I was like real excited about that. But next door would have been amazing.
Yeah. No, it's like, well, it's just a dream come true, especially because their windows are across from each other. So that's like super exciting for 7th graders, for sure. Other people are probably like, dude, close your shades. Anyway, so Kristy is the extrovert and Marianne is the introvert, which is the classic buddy movie you didn't know you needed.
Amazing.
As they're walking home, we learn that Marianne's dad is super strict because her mom passed away. And she's an only child, and that Kristy's parents are divorced. So her and her 2 older brothers help watch their younger brother, David Michael, one night a week. It's Tuesday, and that's Kristy's day. She fixes her brother some lemonade and takes him to the brook to go wading. Is that what it's called? Wading?
I guess. Wade in the water.
Wade in the water. Like it's 1956. I was like, wading in the water. I was like, that's what? And then she's like, I'm so good with children.
I mean, you're not terrible with children if that's what you want.
Yeah. During this time, we also learn about Claudia, who's another friend. She's also into babysitting, but art's really her thing. But there's been sort of a gap between Claudia and Kristy because Claudia's into boys now. So like, oh my God, we have one girl who's into boys and another girl who's not. So,
I thought the way Kristy phrased that she wasn't interested in boys at all, I was like, oh, maybe she's interested in girls. And then I remembered it was the 80s.
And then you're like, thanks for, well, even if you're just like interested in some, like crushes, to me, gender doesn't matter, right? Like,
I was like,
it doesn't matter if
you said boys. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, maybe she'll figure that out about herself later on. No.
Super progressive, right? And then you're like, nope, we're not. I mean, I thought it was progressive in the sense, the way that they talked about divorce and stuff like that. I was like, oh, like that was like some hot goss back in the day. It was like, people are divorced, right? But so this is very much, like, oh, we're different because Claudia's has crushes and I don't type of thing. So we learn a little bit about her friends as she's watching her brother wade in the water.
Just take him swimming.
Yeah, I know. Like, maybe it's just word choice. You can only put your feet in. I was like, they didn't even go fishing. Like, I don't know. I was just like, what year is this? I was like, there's nothing else to do, but who am I? I watch TV. I mean, I probably should have gone and waded a little bit more. So then after they do their waiting, which sounds like I'm saying waiting, like waiting, which I guess is kind of what they're
waiting
doing.
For mom to come home.
They're waiting for mom to come home. And she comes home with pizza, which apparently she only brings home when she wants something from the kids. So the kids are on to the mom. They know what's up. It turns out she needs help with David Michael because the babysitter that she has do the other 2 days that her kids can't do a day. But Kristy and her 2 other brothers are unavailable. So Kristy's mom, who I don't think has a name at this point, so I'm just going to call her Kristy's mom until she has a name, starts making calls. And it takes her a while calling people and getting something lined up. And as Kristy eats her pizza and watches her mom make all these calls, Kristy has an idea. Eureka! The light bulb has gone on. It's time for the Babysitters Club.
Yeah.
All right, your turn, Claire.
Okay. So after this groundbreaking moment, Kristy tackles an essay on decorum.
And I actually wrote an interjection here because as a teacher, when you ask for a word count, which I usually don't do, I usually give a page. Like 3 to 5 pages.
The UK was all word count, and it was the worst because I was like, I'm used to page count. And it's like, oh, I actually have to write this many words, and I can't, like, go on spacing and stuff. That would help.
No, there's lots of tricks people do. Like, people try to, like, use different fonts or use bigger font or, just different stuff where they make the margins, like, 3.5 inches.
Yeah.
Or... there is a trick where people write words and then they change the color to white so it still counts as word count, but it's shorter overall. And I'm like, people, as much time as you spend coming up with these creative ideas, you could have probably just wrote the word count.
I knew someone that changed the size on the font of just the periods in the sentences, not the whole thing, just the periods, so it would make it larger.
It's so annoying. Just do what you're supposed to do. I'm like... Is she failing at decorum? Because she's like, okay, I only have 98 words. The end. Okay, I reached 100. Anyway, continue.
So she worked on that essay, and she does her homework and some brainstorming for the club.
And I was like, she's so organized. She should help me organize my 10-year packet.
Right? I need her to help me organize my life a little bit.
Like they have a picture in the book where it's like how she has everything organized. I was like, girl, get it. Like this book really teaches, I mean, I feel like
skills.
Yeah, I feel like the target audience is girls. And so it's like really teaching girls how to be organized. So that was impressive.
There you go. Get stuff done. Kristy's mom comes in to talk to her and we learn about the parents' divorce, which is pretty progressive for the time, which we've mentioned.
Yep.
Yeah. But Kristy comes clean about lacking decorum in class. And then after her mom leaves, she messages Marianne. Okay, if I was a mom, I'd be like, decorum? Really? Your teacher said decorum? Like, why?
Well, I can't remember what class it was. If it was English, it totally makes sense.
I thought it was like history or something. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, something basically, weird. She was rude.
Yeah. So she's messaging Marianne, and because Marianne's dad is so strict, he does not allow her to talk on the phone after a certain time. So Kristy and Marianne send coded messages back and forth with flashlights.
That's amazing.
Yeah. A cool friendship bonding activity, which probably hasn't happened since cell phones were invented. Actually, I had a tin can telephone when I was a kid because my best friend lived like kitty corner to my grandparents' backyard. Yeah. So we had a tin can telephone there, and like it wasn't that long, but like we thought we were so cool because we learned about it in like the American Girl books, and we're like, it taught us how to make a tin can telephone. It was awesome. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I wish people would, with flashlights on their phone, do coded messages back and forth.
Yeah. No, that would just, like, can you imagine that in class? Someone just flashing their flashlight. Oh, that would drive me nuts.
Super annoying.
A cool friendship bonding. Oh yeah, I said that. Whoops. So Kristy flashlights her Babysitters Club idea to Marianne, who's like, what? You just coded a super long message, and she doesn't even understand it. So after Kristy does it a second time, Marianne's response was, terrific. See you tomorrow. So living a sitcom.
It's so funny because she's so excited about the Babysitters Club, and she's like, I'm gonna flashlight message this, and then it's like it takes forever, and then the person's like, what?
Excitement's worn off by that point.
Yeah, like she should have just waited to tell her in person. I mean, honestly.
So then Kristy's mom comes back in to tell her about a date that she's going with Watson, her boyfriend. Her mom has been dating him for 4 months, and Kristy doesn't like him, and he's divorced. Okay. Plus, he's getting bald.
Which is a direct quote from the book.
Yes. She also asked Kristy if she'll watch Watson's Kids, and Kristy is like, hard pass, no thanks. Like, their dad's balding, so no. he's also divorced. But, like, your parents are divorced too, so, like, why are we judging?
She's so mad at him for two very specific reasons.
Hey, middle school logic.
One, it shouldn't matter because, yeah, your parents are divorced. And two, a lot of people are balding.
Let's not be shallow. Like, it's okay.
It's okay. As long as he treats your mom good, who cares? But
yeah.
All right, so the next day of school, Mr. Redmont accepts the 98-word essay. Because that's what it is with the end written at the bottom. And Kristy is relieved that she jogs home from school. And when I'm reading this, I'm like, seriously, does anyone like school at all? Does this happen? Are people interested, like, what's going on? But after babysitting, Kristy goes over to see Claudia so her and Marianne can talk about the new club. And Kristy lets us know that Claudia is wearing a bra and makeup.
Whoa.
Thanks for the update. So there's even more distance between the two girls. So we got boys, bras, and makeup. But not enough for them to stop the Babysitters Club, especially because Claudia, quote, likes clubs. Who doesn't? I mean, I feel like there was secret clubs and when you were younger that you were a member of, and you'd have like a secret password to join and things like that, because it was very in-group, out-group. And so Kristy, Claudia, and Marianne, who are the in-group, are on board, and there's only two things to discuss. One, where do we hold the meetings? And two, who else could join? These are very important things. And true. Claudia is already showing that she's a great club member by offering her room for meetings because she has a phone, which, I mean, okay, boys, bras, makeup, and phone in the bedroom. This girl is cool.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I hate talking on the phone, but apparently I must have loved it when I was younger. I begged my parents to have a phone in my room. And finally, when I was 14 years old, I got this super cool white phone with giant number buttons on it. And if you're an 80s, 90s kid, you will know what I'm talking about. For those of you who are like, I wasn't born until 2000 or 1997 or whatever it is, then I'll post a picture. But, you know, this must be what kids do now, like begging for the cell phones. So in addition, Claudia, besides having a phone, is also like, I also have this cool new friend. Claudia's like, we should ask Stacy to join. She's cool and she's from New York City, which everyone is really impressed with. The club is a go.
So then the four girls meet the next day at Claudia's house. She is wearing this amazing outfit.
Oh, yes, page 30.
We are going to note on.
Yes.
She is wearing... I found it. She's wearing a baggy yellow and black checkered shirt, black pants, red jazz shoes, and a bracelet that looked like it was made from a telephone cord. So, like, one of those hair tie things, right? My sister has these weird hair ties that look like old phone cords.
And don't forget, she's wearing dangling jointed skeletons that jumped around when she moved. That really brings the whole outfit together.
Yes. She also wasn't wearing makeup this time.
Oh.
Which is also noted.
Yeah, because their parents don't necessarily allow it.
Huh. Okay. So Kristy and Marianne meet New Yorker Stacy, and she also gets a cool outfit shout out on page 32. She is wearing a pink sweatshirt with sequins and a large purple parrot on the front, a short, tight-fitting jeans with zippers up the outsides of the legs, and pink plastic shoes. I wanted pink plastic shoes so bad as a kid.
Oh my goodness!
Like those
these
sandals.
Yeah. Oh, I had like so many pairs of jelly shoes. I had blue. I had clear. It was amazing.
They came back. Like, everybody's about them now. I was like, oh, all right. Bringing back the childhood nostalgia.
Yeah. Oh, I saw one of the students that was in our classes together wearing a scrunchie, and I was like, what? Do you have a scrunchie on your wrist? And she's like, they're back. And I was like, oh my god. Yeah.
After noting the outfit, Kristy also notes that her and her bestie look like second graders in comparison to these models. Oh, wow.
It's like, you're either Punky Brewster or you're not. And if you don't know who Punky Brewster is, Google that, because she was the coolest chick on the block.
Okay. As they talked about the club, and Stacy says she can stay out later than them, they feel like babies, and Marianne is in awe and just repeatedly saying, wow. Oh, man. When asked why Stacy moved from New York City, she awkwardly says her dad changed jobs, but nonetheless, Kristy approves of her to be in the club, and now they can start getting down to business.
All right.
Claudia is excited, so she brings out candy that her parents don't know she has. Ooh. And Stacy declines, which is followed by the usual, "You're so skinny." Oh gosh. Why are you on a diet? It's weird, but the girls are excited about the club and agree to work on the details during recess. They get recess in 7th grade. I got to go out during lunch in 7th grade. Like, they made us go outside every day. They're like, "Here, eat your lunch out in 10 minutes and go outside for a half hour."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and I'll take this part, I feel like middle school is all about lockers, different classes, and lunch hours. I didn't know it was about recess, but it does sound like recess and lunch were the same thing.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, so we did do that a little bit when I was in middle school. They go outside to talk, and Kristy is glad because who Claudia and Stacy eat lunch with are too sophisticated. Okay.
That's totally the word I used to describe 7th graders.
Yep. You're not Audrey Hepburn. You're not sophisticated. You don't get to say that word.
I'm not Audrey Hepburn. I'm not sophisticated.
Okay. They decide on advertising and the logo that Claudia comes up with, blocks with each letter to form the Babysitters Club.
Awesome. And with that, the club moves into high gear by handing out flyers, putting an ad in the Stony Brook newspaper, and deciding on roles for everyone in the club. And I love this. Kristy is president because she thought of it. Claudia is vice president because she's supplying the meeting space and phone. Marianne is secretary because she wanted to be. Stacy is treasurer because she was hoping that was the position she'd get.
Well, there we go.
It's perfect. Claudia celebrates with more hidden candy, and Kristy lacks decorum regarding Stacy's dumb diet. Like, relax. After the candy and rudeness, they work on the flyer, and Kristy's mom will make copies. So the group ends their meeting, and when Kristy arrives home, she discovers Watson is there and has brought Chinese food, which sounds delicious. Kristy loves Chinese food, but doesn't want him to know because she seems to want to parent trap her parents back together, so she goes to town on him. Like, who's taking care of your kids? Damn, I know, this is horrible. He's with Kristy's family, but has a babysitter for his children. Like, what? And I guess some people might say, yeah, like, why, when it is your time with your kids, would you get them a babysitter and spend time somewhere else? So maybe his dates with Kristy's family should be on the nights that the kids are with his ex-wife. But nonetheless, Kristy is, like, hammering him about it. She makes a PB&J sandwich to really let him know how she feels. And then she really gets in trouble when she says that Watson doesn't know his son well enough to know if he played with G.I. Joes or not, which seems like the ultimate insult of all insults. She gets sent to her room, and neither her mom or Watson say anything to her when they leave for the date. Awkward.
Yeah, it is a little awkward.
Yeah.
I feel like he might be coming to see them and, like, getting his kids a babysitter because they're, like, working towards integrating the two families.
Yeah.
And, like, he wants to, like, spend some time with her kids without his kids there for a little bit. So I could see why he did it. But, like, I hope he doesn't do it often, you know? Like, maybe every once in a while.
Because his kids probably want to see their dad, too, you know?
Yeah. The club is officially open for business. Flyers are out, and they get their first clients. And this is where the trouble begins. So here's the Cliff Notes version. First, Kristy's older brother prank calls the club.
So rude.
Second, Claudia took a job when someone called after hours, and Kristy is feeling some kind of way about it, which, okay, sure. She has the phone, though, so you put her number on it. Someone's got to take the after hours calls. And third, Marianne goes to babysit one kid and then is roped into watching 3 other kids. That's the worst. I've had that happen to me, and I hate it. And they don't pay you more either. And I'm like, that's dumb. I'm watching
super
children.
Rude and, like, taking advantage of people. So I don't like that one at all.
I don't like that. Fourth, Kristy gets pulled into a job that's not actually children, but two huge, giant St. Bernard dogs. Okay, this whole time this was happening, I was like, her parents are just going to let her go to this house of this stranger? Like,
yeah.
Are you serious? My parents would never let me do that. Without,
like, checking them out first. Like, maybe, like, who is this person or whatever, you know? and like, their kids, quote, are named Pinky and Buffy, and that seems just weird. And so she thinks it's kids, but it ends up being dogs, and she doesn't know they're dogs until she gets there. So when she tell your parents, or her mom, because her dad is gone, I'm going to babysit, and the kids' names are Pinky and Buffy, and wouldn't the mom be like, let's check into that, because that sounds made up.
That sounds sketchy. Oh, gosh. So the new rule of the club is to keep notes of jobs so that they each know what to expect when taking a job, but also it seems like they learn from their first jobs and need to ask more questions in the future, like kids or pets, kids or dogs, who knows? How many actual kids will be present? That would be good to know. You know the really important questions.
Yes.
In more exciting news, Stacy babysat for Kristy's little brother, David Michael, and her older brother Sam was there. He thought Stacy was a foxy chick. Oh boy. And she thought that Sam was a gorgeous hunk. So it seems the Babysitters Club is going really well for Stacy. Killing it.
I just love the 80s. She's a foxy chick. Check out that gorgeous hunk.
And I was like, isn't she in 7th grade and her brother's in high school? Like, to me, that's weird.
He's a freshman. He's 14, and I think 7th grade is what, like 12? So it's only 2 years, but still, I do feel like middle school and high school are just a world of difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Marianne also babysat for Watson because Kristy refused to. But overall, she had a good experience, except for their giant 17-pound cat, and which annoys the witch next door.
I love this part of the book because, first off, they talk about this giant fat cat that's 17 pounds and is just like, rah. And I'm like, here's the thing. Rooney weighs 18, and she is glorious. And so I don't know why they talking smack about Boo Boo or whatever the cat's name was. But yeah, it really took a turn. There was a witch, and the witch's name was Morbida Destiny.
What a witch name, though. Like, if you're going to name the crazy old lady next door, like, that's it.
It's like more, she's destined to be morbid. So Claire,
or is she like a fortune teller? Like, Destiny. Like, I'm going to tell you. Like,
oh, yeah. So she's like a witch that's about death, but also about, let's think about our future.
Yeah. Future death? Question mark?
So, Claire, what would your witch's name be?
Oh, man. I don't know. I've always wanted to be, like, that cool witchy lady, like, when I got old. You know? Like, the neighborhood kids are slightly scared of me, but they also think I'm really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I during my garden and, like, read tea leaves and stuff. I'd be into that. I don't know. What would yours be?
I'll find probably Alysa.
Yeah. Stick with what we know.
I'm just kidding. I'll find one of those online, what's your witch's name thing and see what our witches' names would be. But that also reminds me of the 80s, one of the greatest movies of all time. And maybe we'll have to watch this movie and we'll do a movie club episode. It's called Teen Witch. And it's freaking glorious. And it's a really interesting take on friendship, actually. So, we'll have to do that. But I don't want to spoil anything. But I think there's people listening right now that's like, Teen Witch is my jam. And I know that they're immediately singing the song, stop that, top that. I don't give a about trying to top that. And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And you're going to have to find out. Okay. So back at the Babysitters Club, Marianne survived the witch and the overweight cat that she's body shaming or whatever. So the girls are learning and applying lessons of dogs and witches to the calls they received during meetings. They've been making bank for the 1980s. I think they made like $26 at this point.
Wow.
Which I'm like, really? Because I'm pretty sure people get paid $10 to $15 an hour now.
Yeah,
like
10 is standard for like one kid. It's about $10 an hour.
Shit, I should go into babysitting.
You should. It's great money to make on the side. I did that in high school, like in addition to whatever job I was working. It was great. That was my cash for whatever I was doing.
Yeah, but $26, and that's among all four of them, which doesn't. I feel like
wasn't the one job like $3.50 an hour or something?
Yeah, no,
I think
it's
the dog job
$3.50 total.
Oh, total? Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And then bless their hearts are like, let's take some of the money and have a pizza party. But then Stacy, of course, is like, I can't go because I'll be back in New York again. So they're going to figure out the party later. And if that wasn't a real bummer for Kristy because she really wanted to do the pizza party, she comes home to Watson again. But this time he doesn't have Chinese. This time they're eating leftovers for dinner. But their mom wants them to get dressed up, which I'm like, all right, we're having Gatorade and SpaghettiOs, but I'm wearing my Sunday best. And so it makes me wonder, like, what's going on? Like, why? I was already, I don't know. But I don't know if you sensed it, Claire. But when I read this, I was like, this sounds like a Haley Mills Parent Trap disaster waiting to happen. And sure enough, it was. Watson has asked Kristy's mom to be engaged. So it's not even like, will you marry me? It's like, will you get engaged to me? Which is super sexy and romantic, right?
Yeah, great way to phrase it.
And her response is, she's thinking about it. I like how they got dressed up for thinking about me.
Really? Like, we're not going to take a cute little picture with the ring and, like, a family picture. Nope, we're thinking about it.
We're just thinking. So it'd be like a picture with, like, thought bubbles above each person in the family. Like, Kristy would be like, I hate I can imagine what each person is thinking. And so it makes me wonder what happens when they actually get married. Are they wearing, like, prom outfits? Is it cosplay? Like, what is actually going to happen?
But a theme.
It's 80s night. Oh, wait, that's every night.
It is the 80s.
Let's dress up like it's the future.
We can go back to the 50s like we did Waiting in the Creek.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Let's get our Crick outfits on. I like to... Sorry, when Dawson's Creek was out, I like to call it the Crick. Okay. So nonetheless, Kristy isn't happy about it and wonders why would she want to risk getting married again. So Kristy is not happy, and we sort of learn in the book that the dad sort of went away and they haven't talked to him in like a year. So I think maybe Kristy is hurt by that and doesn't think her mom, probably doesn't want her mom to get hurt again. So
yeah, coming from a good place, hopefully.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, pizza party continues to tank. Marianne's dad is like, no, you can't spend money on pizza. And Claudia's parents are like, you're failing school, so go do homework. And Stacy is still in New York. Or is she?
Ooh, clean scandal. Ahead.
Lies. Kristy calls to see if Stacy is home, but her mom says Stacy's with friends in New York. But Marianne later says she saw Stacy in her family car. Why would the mom lie? Why would Stacy lie? And on top of that, Watson's ex-wife breaks her ankle, and it's an emergency.
Oh.
And Kristy must watch his kids.
So this is like where everything is just going wrong, right? Mom is thinking about getting engaged. The pizza party is tanked. Stacy or mom is lying. And then on top of that, the ex-wife breaks her ankle and she has to do something she doesn't want to do.
Oh,
horrible.
No. So Kristy goes and meets his kids, Karen and Andrew, who ask if she's Eddie's daughter. The mom finally has a name. Yay!
Is it Eddie or Edie?
Edie?
I might be Edie. Yeah. It's Kristy's mom. Isn't that what happens to parents until your kids?
Yep.
It's like, oh, Claire's mom, Claire's dad, Elisa's mom, Elisa's dad. It's like they don't have an identity outside their kids until a certain point. So, but I think it's Edie.
Edie. Okay. And asks if she likes being divorced. Oh boy. She bonds with the kids, saying that divorced kids are special kids, and is nice to Watson when he returns. That's good progress.
Yeah.
On the way back, Karen asks if Kristy will be her stepsister. She says she's not sure, but how about if she is their babysitter? The kids are on board.
Woohoo!
And when she gets home, Edie seems pleased about how the day went with Kristy and the kids, but they talk about everything. Kristy wants to know arrangements. Where will they live? Would Karen and Andrew live with them? She doesn't want to move, but she seems to be warming up to Watson and her mom being together.
Which I guess is good news, but
yeah.
and I guess as a 7th grader, you would want to know, especially if you live across the way from your best friend and do all those little light shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morse code communication with flashlights.
Yes. So the good news is, like, that is the conflict. Like, if that was a movie, that's when everything's going wrong. And that's in the book, everything's going wrong. So we need to start having some solutions, and that's going to happen. but, you know, we're also going to get some extra scandal coming up as well. So the Babysitters Club is finally back together. It's kind of like us, Claire. The band's back together.
Yeah.
Hey. We got some resolutions from party pooper parents. That's great. Marianne stood up to her dad for the first time ever and negotiated that half of her babysitting money would go to college and the other half how she wants to spend. So like $1.50 goes into savings.
To college.
And $1.50 goes towards that pizza party. Right?
That $1.50 will buy you 1 page of loose leaf paper.
But it's really cool that she was able to negotiate. And so it's kind of like, you go, girl. She's kind of started figuring out how to open up to her dad. Claudia also got a better grade on doing some math homeworks. Her parents are like, you know what? You can spend an hour each night doing homework and you can still babysit. So she's like, score. Yay. So they're each saying like all this good news. And instead of Kristy being like, I'm starting to like Watson a little bit more. No. She then asked Stacy about New York. And I was like, girl, you're about
Big mouth getting in trouble again.
You about to lack decorum. So on page 133, Kristy basically calls out Stacy for being at home when her mom said she was in New York despite Claudia's look. And you know the look, like the look of, girl, don't you do that. There's no decorum. And what ensues is a fight, folks. And it gets serious. Okay. But can I just start with like how Kristy brings it up though? This is some funny shit. She goes, you know, the strangest thing happened on Saturday morning. I said, as usual, I couldn't help it. I was dying to say what I knew. There would be no stopping me, despite the fact that Claudia was sending me urgent telegram with her eyes. Shut up, they were saying. Don't do this. But it was too late, even though I knew it was going to cause problems. Even though I knew that Claudia still considered Marianne Emmy babies and Stacy sophisticated, and therefore was going to protect Stacy and whatever she was up to. So she goes on, quote, Marianne saw you come home with your parents on Saturday. How come you made your mom say you stayed in New York? Stacy's head jerked up, her eyes flashing. She looked like she wanted to kill Marianne or me or possibly both of us. Are you accusing my mom of lying? She cried. I thought for a moment, I guess so.
Flat out savage.
Yeah. And then Stacy stood up and put her hands on her hip and was like, Kristy this and Kristy that. So Stacy calls Kristy a baby who dressed like a little kid and who still plays with dolls.
Oh, shoot. That's harsh for 7th grade.
It does remind me of Clueless when she's like, you're a virgin who can't drive. Like, ouch. Right. So Marianne, the introvert, stands up for Kristy, and they all start yelling. Claudia's grandma comes up and is like, bring it down a notch. And BT dubs, you all need to leave in 15 minutes because I don't know if I like all this yelling. So the phone ringing interrupts the standoff, and both Stacy and Kristy go for the phone. There's a job available because they're at a Babysitters Club meeting, and people are calling to find a babysitter. And so they do what they usually do and say, hold on, let's see who's available and we'll call you back. And so all 4 girls are available. And Claudia says, whose dumb idea was this club anyway? 4
you're not getting the job now?
Yeah. 4 people wanting the same job. That's stupid. And I'm like, hey, girl, hey, I thought you liked clubs. Mm-hmm. Right? Kristy takes that stupid, dumb job and her and Marianne leave. And the cherry on top is this. Kristy gets a whole lot of confetti in her face, literally, when Watson and Edie say that they're officially getting engaged. And then Kristy immediately is like, when's the wedding? And it's not for several months. And she's like, oh, thank God.
Several months? It takes forever to plan a wedding. Like, we're getting married in a couple months?
Well, she only took like a day to think about it, so who knows?
I just say booking venues and stuff. That takes a while.
Sure does. Sure does.
All right. So at school, Kristy and Marianne ignore Claudia and Stacy, but then ask Claudia if they're having a club meeting the next day.
Club meeting over everything.
Yep, club overall. There'd be a meeting. That night, Kristy's family goes to Watson's for dinner, and she has a fun, mainly because Watson makes fondue, which who doesn't? But it seems Kristy finally has come around, and she writes him a note. So I will read the note directly from the book.
Yeah, page 145, y'all, for those following along at home.
Dear Watson, the next time you need a babysitter for Andrew and Karen, please call me first. I would be happy to do the job. Yours truly, Kristy. P.S. The fondue was fun. P.P.S. I like your house. P.P.P.S. If you and Mom want to get married, it's okay with me.
Aww.
That's very 7th grade. I love it.
It's so like there's like 97 PPPPPPPSs. And I'm here for it.
Yes.
You know, she's building up to that. I'm okay with you getting married, but she's like has to say all the. It's like she's justifying, you know, what she's
easing
doing.
into it.
Yeah.
So now that all the family stuff is resolved, it's time to head to the club meeting.
Oh, this should be good.
Here we go. Kristy goes with Marianne, so they have protection.
I need like a bodyguard. I mean, they are babies, so.
Claudia apologizes for losing her cool. Kristy made her angry by opening her big, none-having decorum mouth. But Stacy steps in and says she did lie. And Claudia says she doesn't like her friends to be rude. Kristy says she doesn't like being lied to, which is fair, and that her big mouth gets her in trouble, which is also true. Yeah. Then they get down to business, and before they leave, they agree it's pizza party time, and Kristy suggests salad for Stacy. They all agree, and Kristy asks her mom if it can be a slumber party. Edie says yes. Woohoo! So they party with pizza and or salad. On the day of the slumber party, Kristy's mom talks about how much she likes the club. For Kristy, it brought her together with Watson. Claudia is focusing on school, and Mary Ann is talking more to her dad about important topics. But what about Stacy? Well, it's confession time. She did lie.
Shit.
And it's the next for diet. Kristy, of course, asks if it's anorexia. No, girl. Okay, why are we jumping on that train right away?
Kristy! I've always wanted to just be like, you in danger, girl!
Straight for the throat. No, girl. Stacy has diabetes, and she goes to New York for the doctor. But they moved because her friends in New York teased her about her illness, which is so rude.
She can't help it. Jesus.
Yeah, she didn't choose that. But the Babysitters Club is not like that. The girls have her back. We won't offer you candy anymore, and people at school don't need to know. The girls talked about Edie and Watson's wedding, how Stacy thinks Kristy's brother is cute, and creepy nights babysitting. And all is right in the club's world.
Yay. Yay.
It is creepy staying at people's houses like late at night. Like, oh yeah, I agree. I've had some creepy nights babysitting.
Well, and you're only cat sitting right now. But when I was in graduate school, I was house sitting and dog sitting and cat sitting for one of the faculty members. But before I did that, I had went home for Christmas. And so I was at my parents' house for like a week and a half. And they had the Investigation Discovery Channel. And I didn't have it. So I just watched like a week and a half or two, like just nonstop. And so then when I got to the house sitting, I was like scared of everything. And it was a real life example of cultivation theory in play, you know, where it's cultivation theory is this idea is like the more you watch TV, the scarier you think the world is. And I was just like, what's that noise? What's going on? And I didn't sleep a wink, not at all. So
I take a nap during the daylight when nothing will get you.
Oh my God. It can be scary. So I was like, when I saw that ending where it's like, and then when there's, you know, telling ghost stories and creepy stories and stuff, I'm like, maybe they're murderinos. Maybe this will turn into like a true crime or like scary series. And I think the second book is about, if I remember, Claudia gets these weird calls. And so it's so it kind of gets a little darker, but not really. So what did you think, Claire?
I liked this. This was a good, wholesome time. And it brought me back to like me being that age and babysitting for the first time. And it was good.
Who did you most identify with? Kristy, the girl with no decorum, Marianne with the strict parents and the introvert, Stacy, the cool, mysterious girl from New York, or Claudia, the artist who didn't care about school?
I am definitely Marianne, and my sister is 100% Claudia. When I was reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my sister. What?
I feel like I would be Kristy, actually, but not... But not with Like, I feel like people, because I was loud in volume.
So you weren't rude.
But I don't think I was, like, I don't think I lacked tact. And so maybe that's why I went into communication. And I would get excited about ideas, but I was more about it being done in the group. And I think if I was upset that my friend was now into boys' makeup and so on and so forth, and I wasn't, that I would probably try to find a way to, like, build a bridge over that gap, right?
Yeah.
So, like, thinking about friendship there, I think that it very much feels like it's Kristy and Marianne, and it's Claudia and Stacy, and then there's, like, a huge gap between those two groups of people. And in my life, that happened. I would say me and Kate were one of those couples, and then there was another set of friends, but we're no longer, the four of us aren't friends anymore. And I think that when you create sort of these alliances between people, that it can be harder for the group of four to be friends. And so that was one of the things that I like the books. It's a little too clean cut. Like, I want more drama. I want the juice. I want the goss. I want all. But then I want to, like, break it down and be like, why is that problematic? So in a way, like, this book, you might say, well, this is the way to do friendship, but not necessarily.
It's not. You're not really learning any lessons about how to deal with, like, more, I guess, like, more real life, because, like, life isn't this clean cut and this, like, hunky-dory night. Like, there's stuff that happens, so, like, you gotta teach kids how to handle it.
Well, yeah, and because I think that what you learn from this book is, like, being little entrepreneurs and how to be organized. And so I was like, man, these girls already got a side hustle, where it was like,
they're go-getters.
They are go-getters, and they're going to be like, they're probably business owners now. Like, let's bring the Babysitters Club back. They're probably like, we mom so hard, those two ladies who, like, tour the nation and talk about being moms and have the videos and stuff. I'm like, these girls probably have blogs and podcasts. Yeah,
they're like the Rachel Hollises of the world, like the super mom author, like women, like podcast, YouTube people. And I'm like, yeah, I get it.
But probably, like, in their own area. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have art or whatever else other people are into. Because besides, like, babysitting and knowing each other for a long time in the sense of Marianne and Kristy, or Kristy and Claudia, you know, it's like Marianne is introverted. Well, what is she into?
Yeah, does she like books? Does she like to draw? Like, well, I guess Claudia is the artsy one. We can't have two artsy ones.
Well, you can, but that was one of the things is, like, I think personality-wise, the author captures the diversity, but we actually in this first book don't learn a lot about what they're into. Like, just because you're introverted doesn't mean you don't like things, or
well, it's also focused on Kristy too. So, like, if a different one is focused on Marianne, then you probably learn more about what she's into, because we follow her home.
Yes, and that's exactly what the series does. So the next one focuses on so you're exactly right. But as an introduction book, or if we were only looking at this snapshot in terms of friends, that it's basically like, you guys dress like this. So again, appearance is important. You're a baby because you dress like this, and we're sophisticated because we dress like this. And I would just like to point out the outfit that Stacy is wearing that has the parrot on it, like, that's sophisticated. But later, when they're firing shots at each other during the meeting, she makes fun of Kristy for wearing a shirt with sheeps on it. And I was like, sheeps are parrots. I was like, they would just hate to know that llamas are in right now, and that they both are not. They are not trending.
Flamingos are trendy, so I feel like if we were doing modern equivalents, it would be a flamingo and a llama.
Yes. Oh my god. Okay, so fair. They're both cool. Okay, you got me. But I feel like we could have learned more about them individually, so that, like, what do they do as friends besides this? And
to understand their dynamic better, we need to understand what everyone's bringing to the table to understand what they do together.
Yeah, and I do think that Kristy, if she doesn't change in terms of her decorum, is going to have a hard time maintaining these friendships or creating ones in the future. Because here's the thing. Most people don't like being called out. Most people don't like being accused of things, Or like when she's like, I have a confession and it's about my diet, and she's like, oh, are you anorexic? Like
just let the girl speak.
Like what? Yeah, like maybe it's silence is gold, and like maybe you have 2 ears and one mouth. Isn't that the saying? So listen twice as much as you talk. Or maybe you should listen before you speak. And so that one, I was like, she's going to get herself in trouble. But then at the same time, at the end, she's like, well, we just won't offer you candy anymore. Like, she was like thinking of ways that she could be more thoughtful. And I was like, this doesn't make sense.
She's just impulsive. She doesn't have that like stop and think for a second filter yet. Yeah. So she just kind of like blurts, but then she's thoughtful. She's not like she's mean about it. She just doesn't think. She doesn't think,
and man. But I also like to see that, although we don't know a lot about Marianne per se, that we do see over the course of time that she is speaking up more to her dad and defending Kristy and things like that. So it's like she's finding her voice. And I think Stacy, as a new girl, probably needed some time in which to determine whether or not she could even share what was going on. And I'm actually surprised Claudia didn't know about it.
Yeah, if they're like the 2 and the 2, like you would think Claudia. Well, maybe Claudia did know and had some tact and just didn't speak up about it.
But if Kristy found out that Claudia knew and she didn't, I bet she'd be upset.
Well, it's like, it's not my secret to tell. So.
Exactly. It's called being a friend, but you're also my friend. Well, there's priorities. And one of the things is you see that when they're fighting, and Claudia defends Stacy. And so this is on page 146. Actually, this is coming after the fight, right? So they had their fight, and then they come back to each other, and Stacy says that she lied, and Claudia's like, your lie didn't hurt anybody. At least as far as I know, you must have had a good reason for lying, especially since your mom went along with it. Whatever it was, Kristy shouldn't have accused you like she did. It was just plain rude. You're my friend, and I don't want anyone to hurt you. And Kristy goes, but I'm your friend too. And Claudia agrees, and she says, I don't like my friends to be rude. If you weren't my friend, I wouldn't bother to tell you this. If you weren't my friend, you wouldn't be worth getting mad at. And I was like, that to me is one of the most important statements in the book, highlighting friendship, is that when it's important, these sorts of things happen. When it's not important, it doesn't happen. So if there is some sort of conflict, and I know that people want to avoid conflict, especially in friendship, because it's supposed to be fun and about babysitting and whatever else it is that they do, that having the conflict, immediately people are retreating or, throwing insults. You dress like a baby, they throw insults, and you can say things that you might not be able to come back from. And then it makes it uncomfortable the next time you're together. But sometimes those things happen because you are working through an issue. And the fact that Kristy was still like, are we having a meeting, says that she at least cares about the club and that the people who are involved in the club to keep it going. And Claudia saying that says, you don't get mad at people you don't care about. And if you didn't want your friend to change, you wouldn't say anything, right? And so to me, Claudia is the best reflection of a friend in the book. Just based on that. So I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I definitely saw like the importance in Claudia, and that line really stuck with me too. It's like I'm a person who lets things go. Like I don't really care. Yeah. Like, but if I'm mad, like there's a reason I'm mad. It's because I care about that person, and I definitely saw that in Claudia. She had a really good point. Yeah, for sure.
And so, I guess it's like going through the series and really seeing how things change and how the friendships change, how the club changes. And like, so I guess for this book, for me, that I think individually people are having issues. And I mean, that's the case for everyone. And that, like, you're right, this one focuses on Kristy. And then it's trying to bring these 4 people together for a common goal. And so I do like the idea that there is a club where you're including people and you have a common goal, because it can teach them how to work together, but to work through issues that you might have in business or in friendship. But one of the things that really stuck out to me is this being a really good reflection of development changes reflecting or impacting friendships, because it sounded like Claudia was going through puberty before Kristy and liking boys before Kristy liked whoever she was going to like, you know. And I think that is maybe one of the first major challenges in a friendship. And I wonder, like, if we can pinpoint that for actual young people, their friendships, other than they're not sharing or, you know, like things that they're learning in school and in the home and that sort of thing. If you develop friendships and then the first time you really see a gap is the difference in your thinking and the things that you're concerned about because of puberty.
Yeah, if you're at different milestones, like you're not hitting that milestone yet and your friends are, that can be difficult. I could definitely see that being an issue. Because like being even like in different life stages with someone, like if I'm in school still and someone else isn't, we're in different places in life. Yeah. We have different mindsets. Like that's harder to maintain like a relationship in any sense, platonic or otherwise, with someone that's in a different spot than you are.
Yeah, so this might be like one of the first major changes or transitions that friends experience at a young age that can be really difficult, especially if parents aren't helping them along or schools aren't helping them along. Like, how do you talk to young people about how friendships might change as they go through these things, right? That, for example, I think you see some, if it's not envy, there's at least social comparison. Like, they're so sophisticated. Like, that's a real big deal. And I'm like, here's the thing. No one in middle school is sophisticated.
You may think you're sophisticated, but later you'll look back and be like, ooh, that's so cringy. Like, oh, why did I think that?
Yeah. So I liked that part of the book, like showing that. And I think that would be a really important point for research. I think it'd be an important point for I don't want to say intervention like it's some major crisis, but at least a point of entry for parents or schools.
Or put it in the health class curriculum. Like if you're learning about puberty in health class, add that in as like, look, you're changing and so can your friendships. Like add that in.
Yeah.
That might be a good point, entry point.
Well, because it's like it makes people, it creates a gap, but then at the same time, like I said, that I wish Kristy would focus on building the bridges across the gap, or maybe Claudia realizing that she's going through these things first, but they never talk about it. It just seems to be part of the issue that they're having, but they don't actually talk about it. So what can we do to help young people who might be, like you said, impulsive or lack tact or experience or they're uncomfortable with conflict? How do we get them to talk about things and saying like, I'm really into makeup right now, but that doesn't change the fact that I still love you as a friend. And that
I think it's hard for middle schoolers because like at that age, it's all about you and you're like, I'm the only one going through these things and this is my crisis and blah, blah, blah. It's hard to think outside of yourself in that age. Like it's kind of a learned thing.
Especially Kristy, because Watson, like her friends, Mr. Redmont, her teacher, like she, that's why I said at the beginning, she's kind of full of herself, but it's like she's in 7th grade and she has a lot to learn and experience and to build upon. So I do think like this series introduces here a new way to have friendships through a club, if you will. And so I think later you'll definitely, if you read the entire series, would see a lot more issues regarding in-group, out-group with the club. And conflict over roles and things like that. But also straight up friendship stuff too, right? Those relationships. And we learn more about each person as we take on, if it focuses on Claudia or Stacy or Marianne, for example. And so I really do like this, but I also am like, there's so many points of entry that is not addressed or things that didn't happen that I think would make it even more realistic. Because as you said, it's not like life isn't cut and dry and it's like everything was sort of picture perfect. Even when there was divorce or there was this person broke their ankle and I had to do this thing or Stacy lied, it still all came together like it was a movie montage really quickly, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, life isn't like that. So I think that there were some points where it could have gone a little bit further. But, overall good. Not the and Ferguson is now up here and he's like, I got some things to say about this book. There were a couple cats, but they didn't seem to be represented well.
No. We had some cat shaming going on.
If anything, it should be Rooney up here. Ferguson is Rooney's Marianne. He's coming to defend her, and the loudmouth is downstairs on her queen's throne. So overall, a good book. It has social comparison. It has a lot of friendship, conflict, things that maybe we need to dive into more. But then there's an entire series where, Anna and Martin can work that out. And so what is the book for next time? And I know after that length of the Gallagher Girls book, I'm going to really need to block out some time for whatever novel you're going to be throwing at me. So
I'm doing that to you again.
Oh, dear Lord. Young adult writers. Go back to the 80s.
For a younger audience, so it should read pretty quick. I read this. This came out when I was in late elementary, but I read it in early middle school.
Okay.
We're switching it up. We're changing to a boy narrator.
Boys, what?
Okay.
No, that's actually very exciting. I'm excited. I didn't read any books with boys as the focus when I was younger. That I can think of. There are books that came before my time that I appreciate, like The Outsiders, but it was written by a teenage girl, right? So, I didn't read Hardy Boy. I'm actually going to have to go back and look at what books are popular. Maybe we can read a book. But tell me about this boy narrator. What are we reading?
Okay. So the book is called The Lightning Thief.
Whoa. Sorry. It just reminded me of the Friends episode when they read the book about, what is it? Okay, no, you tell me, I'll look it up.
Okay,
I don't remember what
so
it's called.
The first book in the Percy Jackson series. Who's Jackson the Olympian.
I've never read Percy Jackson.
Yay!
And I didn't know that it was him based on the title.
Yeah, The Lightning Thief. So it's by Rick Riordan. He is very prolific in the area of mythology. So he has this series, which is Greek mythology. There's a crossover series that does Roman mythology. And he has a couple books in Egyptian mythology, and then he has a series of Norse mythology. So we're all over the myth spectrum.
Interesting.
But do you want me to read the summary for?
Yeah, just give me a little bit.
Okay.
Give me a little bit, and then also the listeners know what they'll be getting themselves into, so they can block out the time as well.
Yeah. So this is from Goodreads because I don't have my copy with me.
Okay. Yeah.
But Percy Jackson is a good kid, but he can't seem to focus on his schoolwork or control his anger, his temper. And lately, being away at boarding school it's only getting worse. Percy could have sworn his pre-algebra teacher turned into a monster and tried to kill him. When Percy's mom finds out, she knows it's time that he know the truth about where he came from, and that he go to the one place he'll be safe. She sends Percy to Camp Half-Blood, a summer camp for demigods on Long Island, where he learns that his father, he never knew, is Poseidon, the god of the sea. Soon a mystery unfolds, and together with his friends, one satyr and one demigod daughter of Athena, Percy sets out on a quest across the U.S. to reach the gates of the underworld, located in a recording studio in Hollywood, and prevent a catastrophic war between the gods.
Dude, that sounds serious.
But it's a best friend buddy road trip with trying not to die at the same time.
I love buddy road trips. What was the name of it again?
The Lightning Thief.
Okay. This is the Friends episode. And it is the one where Eddie won't go in 1996. So Eddie, who is Chandler's roommate, won't move out. But in this one, the secondary story is this book that Phoebe is reading about goddesses or something. And so Rachel says, number 29, have you ever betrayed another goddess for a lightning bearer? So okay, question number 28. Have you ever allowed a lightning barrier to take your wind? And so it's all about lightning barriers are men and their goddesses and taking their wind and stuff. And so Ross says about the book Rachel read, I don't know, it has trees and wind and some kind of sacred pool. I don't get it, but she's pretty upset about it. And then Joey says, this is why I don't date women who read. So yeah, that's amazing. And I'm so excited to read. And I'm excited about having a boy narrator. And so I'll look back at my time and see what books existed. But to be honest,
not much. I mean, there's not a whole lot now either. Like, it was this and Harry Potter were like the big two.
Yeah. Well, and I would say also that for me, I know that the majority of my time was spent reading Sweet Valley High, Nancy Drew, Judy Blume, Anna Martin, The Babysitter's Club. And speaking of, so there's this amazing graphic novel version of the Babysitter's Club series, and it's done by the best-selling author of Smile, Raina Telgemeier, if I'm saying that correctly. And Claire and I are going to read this, and we're going to do a Patreon bonus episode where we talk about what we thought of the visual version, but also pictures, but also maybe let's see how they update it.
Yeah.
Because they still have a landline on the cover here, which is pretty amazing. So when this episode comes out, there will also be a Patreon episode released that has our review of that. So very exciting stuff. Lots of things coming your way. If you like what you have in your ear holes, there's a few things you can do. I'd love to have you follow Best Forevers on social media. You can find the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Best Forevers Pod. And I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. Claire, do you follow Best Forevers?
I do.
Excellent. You sounded not happy about it, but...
Oh, no, I do. It's supposed to be reverent, like I do.
I do. Social media is a great way to follow podcast updates and get involved with discussions and other items related to friendship. I look forward to us connecting, and I want to hear all about people's experience with the Babysitter's Club. And then next up, Percy Jackson. If you care about friendship like I do and want to support Best Forevers, you might consider supporting the movement to love on our friends more on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. There's lots of cool perks and goals. You have to check it out. I would love to call you Friends with Benefits. Maybe that's what we'll call our club. I was going to say, that's what we'll call our Babysitter's Club, but that's inappropriate. And I don't want a Babysitter's Club, but our book club, Friends with Benefits. Thank you to all my lovely patrons. It's been so great to have you involved in watching the videos and all the extra stuff online and interacting with you that way. And I appreciate all of your support as I was able to get new mic stand and a new mic, and there's so much more to come. So please come join me and Best Forevers on Patreon. Finally, thanks for listening to Best Forevers. I appreciate every single listen, like, follow, post, and retweet. Claire, have you told friends about Best Forevers?
I have. I've been getting people to listen, or I've been trying to. You know how it is with people getting people on to listen to new podcasts. It's like it's hard.
I already have like 20 on my list.
You got to push them. Like, you got to push it a couple times. Like, no, really, it's really good.
Yeah, get in there. I'm on it. But please subscribe, rate, and review Best Forevers. It's very helpful to the podcast. It lets other people find out about my podcast. And as I just asked Claire, if you do enjoy Best Forevers, please sure to share it with your friends. It warms my friend-loving heart. And this week's promo is from Carrie and Marie of Go Your Own YA. Have you heard of this podcast, Claire?
I have not.
Well, girl, you best get on it.
I am. I'm going to subscribe right now.
Girl, she's subscribing right now. Okay, but first off, this is the best podcast name ever. I love Fleetwood Mac. And second, I also love young adult books. And I think you can tell that because all of our book clubs have focused on young adult books. So have a listen to these charming ladies talk about lesser-known young adult literature with what they call, quote, a weird adult sensibility and a whole lot of pop culture references. Sounds like my cup of tea. Have a listen and give Carrie and Marie a subscribe, rate, and review. And look at this. The promo already worked. Claire is ignoring me and subscribing to the podcast right now.
There's some good stuff on here.
So go do that. Go listen to Best Forevers and get ready for the next episode. All right, until next time, either look up the definition of decorum or practice decorum with your friends, because without our friends, who would we be?
Talking about young adult literature is not for the faint of heart. There's fashion atrocities, queer subtext, problematic love interests. And that's just for a start. But never fear, because Carrie and Marie are here with Go Your Own YA, a podcast about the young adult literature you never knew you loved. Do something good for yourself and bad for the patriarchy, and find us wherever pods are cast.